Mr. Matt Waters is the Libertarian candidate for Senate. He was born and raised in the great state of Virginia and could not be here tonight, but he is running for office because he is concerned about our out-of-control spending. He said his family dates back to Jamestown. His grandfather was a welder. He graduated from Hampton High and George Mason University, and has been married for nearly 20 years to Anne Marie. He says the aim of this campaign is to restore liberty to the people by limiting the size of and scope of our government. We also have Mr. Stephen Porter with us. Mr. Stephen Porter is also a Libertarian. He is running for Congress in the 11th District of Virginia, and he is going to represent Mr. Waters and also himself. So please give your attention to Mr. Stephen Porter. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hello, everybody. As has already been said, my name is Stephen Porter. I'm the Libertarian nominee for Congress in the 11th District. Mr. Waters had hoped to be here this evening. Something came up. I was doing door drops out in the heat this afternoon, and suddenly I get this phone call. Steve, is there any chance you can be in Fairfax at 6 p.m.? It's like, sure. But seriously, Matt and I agree on many things, so it isn't a particularly hard push to talk about the libertarian positions and to talk about Mr. Waters and myself. I do really encourage everyone, though, to take a look at the campaigns. I've got both of our rack cards out there, but not just our rack cards. Take a look at the candidates and positions for every single race on your ballot. That's so important, especially these days, that everyone is well educated about what's on the ballot. So please take a moment when you have a chance to really learn about your candidates. My name is Stephen Porter. I'm from the Seattle area originally. I came out here in 1993. I've been working in information technology for all that time. I enjoy the work. It's my first run in politics here. But more importantly, I've been very involved with community things, volunteering work, Rotary, Knights of Columbus, and especially my work with the Volunteer Rescue Squad out in Loudoun County, where I've been a paramedic and officer for nearly 16 years. That work really allows me to work and interact with a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds. And what you learn very quickly is we all have similar desires, similar needs, and most of all, we all have gifts to give to each other, and we need to be able to share them. When we get into libertarianism in general, I even had a few people outside say, I'm looking forward to this because really I have no idea what a libertarian is. Fair enough. I could talk to you about the fact that the party was formed in 1971 by the Dallas Accords. I could get into it, but really, the key thing to remember about libertarian politics is it's focused on the rights and responsibilities, and that is key. The two have to go hand in hand. Rights and responsibilities go hand in hand of the individual. Some libertarians lean a little more to the left, some lean a little bit more to the right. But what draws us together is our view of the role of the individual versus the role of the state. We believe that as much as possible, you understand what is best for you, the people you love, and your communities. The closer we can keep government to you, the more efficient, effective, and transparent it will become. So that's sort of like a real high-level, 30-second soundbite of what a libertarian is. So how does that translate into policy positions? Matt and I share many of the same positions. We prioritize a little differently, though. For Matt, he puts a lot of priority on the debt, which I agree with. He's concerned about both taxation and spending. So am I. My primary focus is actually on criminal justice issues. So it doesn't mean that either one of us thinks the other position is wrong. It's just everybody has to favor something. So I'm going to talk mostly about my positions because those are the ones I'm most comfortable talking about. But I do encourage you to reach out to Matt's campaign about any specific questions you have about his policies. So let's talk a little bit about criminal justice to start. Well, actually, let's back up a second. The reason that I'm running is because I am so tired of the nastiness in politics today. 2016, no matter who you voted for or supported, I think we can all agree that it was an ugly, ugly, ugly race. And frankly, things haven't gotten a lot better. You know, the amount of mudslinging, just the hyperpolarization, all of those things are really tearing us apart. And if we are going to find solutions to problems, the first thing we got to be able to do is get into a room and talk together. You know, if we can't do that, then we might as well just roll the whole thing up and walk away. Because unless we can talk to each other without name-calling, without mud-flinging, without just sheer nastiness, there is no discourse. There's no opportunity to actually reach any sort of solutions. The other reason I ran, frankly, is I looked at the 2016 ballot and I saw that Mr. Connolly was unopposed. Regardless of how you feel about a candidate, unopposed candidates are bad. You know, it's simply, we need them to be opposed because it helps keep them honest. And I'm not saying Mr. Connolly's not an honest person. I'm really not into that type of politicking. I'm just saying that in order for him to be as accountable to the people as he can be, it's really important that someone step up and say, you know, there is a choice here. You know, I like most of what you're saying, but you know, this Porter guy had a point. You know, so if he gets elected, which is highly likely, right? At least maybe you'll look back and say, you know, Steve talked about this, though. I want you to take a look at it. So it's important that we keep those type of approaches, those type of ideas flowing into our discourse. All right, back to policies. Criminal justice. Criminal justice in this nation is terrible. We are locking people up for extended periods of time for crimes that have no victims. Okay, why are they in jail if there's no victims? We're locking people up for extended period of time for nonviolent crimes. Again, should there be penalties for true crimes that have victims that are nonviolent? Of course. It doesn't mean you lock them up for 10, 15, 20 years when some people who are actually committing violent crimes get out sooner. That makes no sense whatsoever. And the other thing here that's just absolutely atrocious, and I made this comment to South County High School event this week, is I was looking across this student body auditorium filled with about 400 students. South County has a wonderful mix, just like this organization does, of many different cultures, many different religions, many different races. And I'm looking out there, and unfortunately I had to tell them that, you know, based on the color of your skin, the odds that you do hard time, get crime, you know, charged with crimes, is so disproportionate. I'm a white guy, okay, I can't change that. But it really bothers me that, you know, if me and a black friend both got picked up on the exact same charge, the odds that I walk are much better than his. And that, frankly, is, well, this is being live streamed, so I probably should pick my words carefully. That is not appropriate for this day and age. So that's really important. We've got to get to a point that our criminal justice system is being fair to all, and it's really punishing the people who need to be punished and doing it in a sensible way. If we can get to that point, we largely will dump the prisons. I mean, the number of people who are actually in federal prisons specifically on nothing other than basic drug-related possession charges is staggering. And of course, just because of how things work, what color are most of their skin? Give you a hint, it's not this. That's wrong. We get them out of prison, they're back in society. They're back contributing to our businesses, they're contributing to our communities. They're not taking up money that we're spending to house them in prisons. We need to get that done. So I do support major changes. You know, libertarians often may talk about our positions about marijuana and stuff. Yes, I think marijuana should be decriminalized. On top of that, at a federal level, I think all records for simple possession of marijuana should be expunged. That if you are right now holding a federal charge on marijuana possession, one, get them out of the jails, they don't belong there, and then wipe their records clean because they shouldn't be denied the right to vote, possess weapons, or any of the other things that they now have stamped on them because they got picked up with a little bag of marijuana. That makes no sense to me. In the criminal justice world as well, the other issue that just drives me nuts is civil asset forfeiture. The idea that the government can come, basically take your property without charging you, without convicting you, and then somehow you've got to prove that you have a right to get your property back. That's un-American. That is not how we actually got there, how someone actually views that as consistent with the Constitution of this great nation. I have no clue. So civil asset forfeiture needs to go. Many states actually have taken steps to remedy that. Some states have taken steps. Oh, I got 1 minute, sorry. Okay, so other thing real fast is immigration, because obviously it would be a concern to this group. Immigration, I've got 2 basic rules. Do you pose a threat to this country, and can you contribute to this country? If those answers are correct, welcome. Pure and simple. We don't need real complex laws, we don't need any of that. We need systems that can vet for threats, and obviously we do want people that come here can actually sustain themselves, contribute to our economy. But when we get that, we get a much better group, a much better livelihoods, all that stuff. And finally, big government regulations on business help corporations. They don't help people with small and medium-sized businesses. You know, they're basically free subsidies to the big guys. You know, that's not who generates wealth in this country. That's not who generates jobs in this country. That is not who generates opportunities in this country. Those jobs, wealth, are created by small and medium-sized businesses, many of which in this day and age are being started and ran by minorities. And so I welcome your questions, I welcome any comments that you have, and I do hope that you will look into our campaigns. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you to our host, Virginia International University. We appreciate you allowing us to be here today. Thank you to the Multicultural Chamber Alliance, to the Asian American Chamber, Cindy Shao, to the Virginia Hispanic Chamber, Michelle Zazier, and to the Northern Virginia Black Chamber of Commerce, Edward Williams. Thank you all for joining us today. Have a great evening.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.